With a franchise as big as the Transformers, many characters can easily become someone's favorite, while others open the door to new fans.
What can you possibly do?
Improvise.
For my wife, introducing her to the world of the Transformers was strengthened thanks to the introduction of the premier female Transformer, Arcee.
Looks like the old empty Rockaroid trick fooled him all right.
Consider supporting the channel on Patreon, or becoming a channel member today. When the original Transformers lineup was chosen, the profile for Ratchet was initially written as a female Autobot. Instead, the decision was made that all Transformers were genderless robots, and their means of reproduction was altered to reflect that. However, writer Ron Friedman fought for the inclusion of a female Autobot while he was writing the first draft of Transformers the movie, since his daughter was also a fan of the franchise. Eventually, he won that argument, and so the character of Arcee was created to debut in the 1986 film. As a result, other female Transformers were also introduced in the cartoon during Season 2 prior to the film's release, and a few also made appearances throughout Season 3. Designed by artist Floro Derry, Arcee was fashioned to look like an Autobot version of Princess Leia, since the original Star Wars trilogy inspired many of the elements of Transformers the movie. Transforming into a Cybertronian sports car convertible, the initial design was used for the prototype that was produced for what would be Arcee's toy. However, her toy was ultimately cancelled even though her character was still to be included among the new cast. Arcee's robot design had a further revision, streamlining her look, which became the iconic image of the character. Set in the then future year of 2005, Transformers the movie introduced Arcee among the new cast of Autobots as the Decepticons attacked Autobot City. Voiced by Susan Blue, Arcee was caring and compassionate while still being an excellent sharpshooter on the battlefield.
I was afraid you'd be trapped outside the city.
Hey, I wasn't worried for a microsecond.
Then you probably didn't understand the situation.
During the film, Arcee helped transform Autobot City into battle mode and assisted where she could to stop the carnage caused by the Decepticons. She also became the protector of Spike Witwicky's son, Daniel, throughout the film.
I think Daniel can make himself useful with this. It was Spike's exosuit.
Very much like Princess Leia, Arcee was involved in sort of a love triangle between the young and reckless Hot Rod.
Stay close to me, Daniel!
And you better stay close to me.
Oh, you better stay close to me.
And the triple-changing jock, Springer. While Hot Rod's focus was on saving Cybertron, which eventually led to him becoming Rodimus Prime, Springer traveled alongside Arcee throughout the film in a similar fashion to Han Solo.
Did we have to let him detonate 3/4 of the ship?
Seeing as how they would have detonated 4/4, I think it was a good choice.
In Season 3, Arcee was one of Rodimus Prime's most trusted soldiers, spending most of her time in the season opener alongside Springer.
Since you wrecked our ship, we're gonna have to take yours. Therefore, you're gonna have to take a hike. Got it?
When the Autobots were stuck on the planet of Goo, a garbage-collecting vehicle sucked up Springer, tearing him apart, much to Arcee's dismay. However, Rodimus Prime was able to get the Goo stuck in its gears, saving everyone, and Wreck-Gar was able to reassemble Springer.
Springer! Oh, Springer!
Arcee's talent as a gunner was apparent throughout the cartoon. She provided excellent cover fire whenever the Autobots needed it,
Is that good enough?
and she was even able to use Galvatron's arm cannon to save Ultra Magnus in the episode Dweller in the Depths. Despite her small size, Arcee was also willing to put herself in danger in order to protect those she cared about. When Rodimus Prime, Springer, Ultra Magnus, and Arcee's minds were transferred into synthoid bodies by Old Snake in the episode Only Human,
What in the name of Prime?
Rodimus? Springer? Ultra Magnus? What's happened to us?
Arcee tried unsuccessfully to convince the police that terrorists led by Victor Drath were planning to use the Autobots' bodies to destroy Autobot City. Fortunately, Ultra Magnus and Springer were able to commandeer Springer's body to help thwart Victor Drath's plan. Perceptor then restored Arcee and the other Autobots to their original bodies. It's revealed at the end of the episode that Old Snake was actually Cobra Commander.
They simply don't make terrorists like they used to.
The connections between G.I. Joe and the Transformers will be a discussion for another day. In the US series finale, The Rebirth, Arcee was among the Autobots along with Spike and Daniel, who were left stranded on the planet Nebulos. After a Decepticon attack, Daniel was gravely injured, and Arcee volunteered to become a headmaster in order to save Daniel's life. Because of their binary bonding, Arcee and Daniel were more effective in battle as they faced off against the Decepticon headmasters and target masters. However, the Japanese continuity chose to ignore the events of the Rebirth, starting with their own exclusive series, The Headmasters. In this series, Arcee was no longer seen in battle. Instead, she took more of a secretarial role, delivering messages to Autobots stationed around the galaxy, and was still the caretaker of Daniel, who spent more time with a child Autobot named Wheelie. Since she was no longer spending time with Rodimus Prime or Springer, Chrome Dome became infatuated with Arcee. He attempted to win her affection as they slow danced during a celebration. When the Autobots departed the Earth at the end of the series, Arcee bid farewell to the Witwicky family as the Autobots continued their battles in space. In the Marvel Comics, Arcee was completely absent from the US stories as the Transformers were considered genderless. However, Arcee did appear in the comic book adaptation of Transformers the movie, using her outdated animation model instead of her final design. She was also part of Rodimus Prime's team of Autobots in many of the UK exclusive stories. However, Simon Furman felt that in order to explain how a genderless race created a female Transformer, he wrote the story Prime's Rib to give an origin to Arcee. In this black and white short, an angry mob of feminists were enraged that the Autobots did not have any females among their ranks. In an attempt to please them, Optimus Prime creates Arcee in hopes to strengthen relations between humans and Transformers. This did not please the feminists, who were angry about what she looks like despite the fact that she can more than prove herself in battle. Arcee would later be present when Autobot City was constructed and was stationed there after Hot Rod became Rodimus Prime. While daydreaming about the time she used to spend with Hot Rod, Arcee was attacked by the Quintessons, who used her as bait to trap Rodimus Prime in the story Space Pirates. Upon fighting her, Rodimus Prime attempted to use the Matrix to heal Arcee when the Quintessons stole it from him and he reverted back into Hot Rod. Fleeing from the Quintessons to regroup, Hot Rod and Arcee found the other Autobots and activated Metroplex to destroy many of the Quintessons' troops. To retrieve the Matrix, Hot Rod battled General Gyrick and was once again restored to Rodimus Prime, who proceeded to end the Quintessons' plot once and for all. Arcee traveled back in time alongside Rodimus Prime in order to stop the universe from unraveling caused by a time-traveling Galvatron in Time Wars. Once the threat was over, they returned to a future in which Galvatron had conquered Cybertron in their absence. While Rodimus Prime pummeled Galvatron, Arcee convinced her leader not to kill him so that the Matrix would not be tainted with evil. The Autobots were then forced to flee Cybertron before having to deal with an even greater evil than before. Throughout G1, Arcee never received a toy despite her being a regular member of the cast in the cartoon. There were plans to release a Headmaster redeco of Chrome Dome in Arcee's colors, but like her original toy, it was also cancelled. Even plans for an Action Master exclusive for BotCon was cancelled as well. A redeco of Transmetal 2 Black Arachnia was released as a BotCon exclusive in 2001. The tie-in comics explain that, after Daniel Witwicky's death, Arcee went through the maximal upgrade process as she fought alongside Rodimus and the Wreckers. Around the same time, the Dreamwave comics introduced Arcee among the Autobots attempting to liberate Cybertron from Shockwave's control. While she tried to gain Hot Rod's attention, Springer began to win her affection. It's eventually learned that Arcee was one of several female Transformers sent by the Quintessons as a sleeper agent. The Quintessons planned on using her to get close to Hot Rod, since he had an affinity for the Matrix of Leadership. However, the comic book company went bankrupt before the story could be concluded. The first mass retail toy of Arcee was released as part of Transformers Energon. Transforming into a motorcycle and voiced by Sharon Alexander,
Okay, boys, let's move out.
she was introduced in the cartoon as the inspirational leader of the Omnicons in their efforts to mine Energon.
On your feet. Let's pull it together, gentlemen.
Anything you say, Arcee.
A capable warrior in her own right, Arcee fought alongside her fellow Autobots in order to stop the Decepticons and the Chaos Bringer, Unicron. In Transformers Animated, Arcee was once known as Teaching Unit RC687040, voiced once again by Susan Blue.
That's a very good question, young bot. Only the Allspark knows for sure.
Recruited for the war against the Decepticons, Arcee became an intelligence officer and was given the activation codes for Omega Supreme, the Autobots' ultimate weapon. Unfortunately, Arcee was damaged on the battlefield. Ratchet attempted to repair her before both were captured by the Decepticon bounty hunter, Lockdown. To prevent Omega Supreme's activation codes from falling into Decepticon hands, Arcee convinced Ratchet to use an EMP blast to wipe her memory. While both were able to escape from Lockdown, Arcee was left remembering nothing.
You all right, Arcee?
Who's Arcee?
Ultra Magnus ordered Ratchet to attempt to retrieve the access codes in order to activate Omega Supreme. Arcee was then kept in stasis for 4 million years until the Decepticons kidnapped her. Shockwave managed to access her data tracks, which transferred the codes to Lugnut. The Decepticons then built 3 Lugnut Supremes to attack Earth, but the Autobots were able to rescue Arcee. Ratchet eventually restored her mind.
Ratchet? Is that you?
As she helped activate Omega Supreme to stop the Decepticons.
Autobots in danger!
During the development of the live-action films, Arcee was one of the characters slated to appear in the first film. Like her Energon counterpart, she would have transformed into a motorcycle and probably would have been used by Lennox to take down Blackout. While a toy was released of this mold, the character was replaced by Ironhide. In Revenge of the Fallen, 3 Autobot motorcycles were introduced chasing down the Decepticons in Shanghai. Voiced by Gray Griffin, their robot mode designs were similar to the Viacon Thrust from Beast Machines, but all 3 of them were called Arcee. A tie-in comic explained that the original robot was split into 3 separate individuals of Arcee, Alita 1, and Chromia. In the final battle, the Arcee triplets were killed by the Decepticons. While it was initially made as a prequel, the Bumblebee film featured robot designs similar to their G1 counterparts on Cybertron. Among the Autobots was Arcee in her familiar pink design. When IDW Publishing launched a new comic book universe, writer Simon Furman wanted to change and explain concepts throughout the franchise by being completely different than they were done before. Since he firmly believed that all Transformers were genderless beings, he chose to introduce Arcee as an experiment of G-Axis created by altering Arcee's very CNA. This turned the barbarian twin brother of Galvatron into a female. G-Axis rejected his experiment, which caused Arcee to go on a murderous rampage across the galaxy until she was finally able to confront the twisted scientist. However, because he was in proximity of the dead universe, G-Axis would not die, but Arcee was pleased enough to be able to kill him over and over. This demented therapy came to an end when Galvatron became consumed by the Heart of Darkness, and Arcee eventually became a deadly enforcer under Prowl's command. Finding it difficult to empathize with others, Arcee struggled to fit in until the Dinobots and Ironhide confided in her. After guarding Bumblebee overnight, she carved an Autobot symbol into her arm. Arcee's origin in the comics stirred quite a controversy among fans and writers. It became an even bigger debate as more female Transformers were introduced into the IDW comics and the Transformers franchise as a whole. While I've previously covered the origins of other female Transformers before, the writers hoped to have Arcee grow as a character as the comics continued. After many years in battles, Arcee accompanied Optimus Prime to Earth and eventually became more comfortable with herself. To stop her brother's conquest of Earth, Arcee, along with Optimus Prime and Soundwave, chased down Galvatron to Jupiter, which ended with the Autobot leader executing the ancient Decepticon tyrant. After Sideswipe's death, Arcee found solace by embracing Aileron, who gave Arcee someone to fight for at the coming of Unicron. When IDW rebooted their continuity in 2019, Arcee was introduced as a mentor to the newly forged bot named Gage. This Arcee is both a skilled warrior and a motherly protector. However, this time she has a bit of a short temper. As the comic is still ongoing, we'll have to wait and see where her story continues. Taking cues from the live-action films and Transformers Energon, Arcee was redesigned for Transformers Prime as she transforms into a motorcycle. Instead of her typical pink color scheme, this version was colored in blue, much more like the G1 character Chromia.
Yes, we exist, and we always will.
Also like that character, this Arcee was a no-nonsense fighter whose skill in battle more made up for her smaller size. Voiced by Sumali Montano,
this ends here, cons.
This Arcee suffered from a bit of PTSD after watching the Decepticon Arachnid murder her partner Tailgate. Traveling to Earth alongside Cliffjumper, Arcee became one of Optimus Prime's most trusted Autobots. After Cliffjumper's death, Arcee became partnered with the Autobots' human ally, Jack Darby.
Need to get my partner far away from any oversized insects.
Partner, huh?
Junior partner. I could still pull rank.
Who helped her overcome her past trauma even as she was forced to fight Arachnid once again. After the Decepticons were defeated, Arcee remained on Cybertron to help restore the Autobots' homeworld. In Transformers Cyberverse, Arcee joined the Autobots at the start of the war and was on the Ark when it crash-landed on Earth. Voiced by Jamie Lamchick, this version of Arcee loved partying and adventure as she took selfies to remember all the places that she's been.
Our friends have no idea what a grand adventure we've had.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again sometime.
When the Autobots left Earth to return to Cybertron, Arcee and Grimlock defended the Ark as she showed off her talent as a gunner.
That was fantastic!
So much fun.
Although the original G1 toy line did not have a toy for Arcee, she has had many toys throughout the franchise. In fact, the G1 version of the character finally saw a toy during the Thrilling 30 lineup of Generations toys, which also saw a few recolors. While that version was more based on her IDW Comics appearance with her swords, Takara released the toy in Japan in cartoon-accurate colors. The zany tie-in manga of the Legends world depicted Arcee as Rat Trap's caretaker in a nod to a one-liner said by the Maximal in Beast Wars.
What in the name of my great Aunt Arcee is going on here?
A retool of Titan's Return Blur was also released as Arcee with Daniel spelled backwards as a Toys R Us exclusive. This toy was presented to Susan Blue when the voice actress and director finally received the recognition she truly deserved in the Transformers Hall of Fame. Finally, Arcee will get the Masterpiece treatment and will appear in the War for Cybertron Earthrise's toy line. With so many versions of Arcee throughout the franchise, a lot of fans have their own preference for the character. Whether it's the no-nonsense fighter from Transformers Prime, to the Gatling gun-wielding party girl from Cyberverse, or the transgendered warrior trying to find her place from the IDW comics, there is certainly something for everyone. As for myself, I prefer the original, caring, compassionate Autobot who is an excellent gunner from the G1 cartoon.
You don't have to, Daniel. I feel the same way too.
She was the character that helped my wife become a fan. As such, this video is dedicated to her as we celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary. With the popularity of Arcee in current media, and the fact that she opened the door for more female Transformers in the franchise, I'm sure we will see Arcee making many appearances in the years to come. But what do you think? What version of Arcee is your favorite, and are you excited for the new toys of the character coming soon? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you like this retrospective on Arcee, be sure to thumbs up and subscribe. Check out my other videos as well. I'd like to thank my patrons and my channel members for your support. I've got many more Transformers videos like this coming soon, so stay tuned. And as always, until next time, till all are one.
Goodbye, Optimus Prime! Don't stay away too long!